Alright, hello again folks, and welcome to the second part of me going through the Vypyr VIP2's amps attributes. This time we are going to be going through the effects available on the amp. And again, just showing exactly where the clean channel in this clean patch is set that we will be showing the effects off here. So in this instance, I'm just gonna try to make it a little bit quicker than the other video. The other video was a little long, but thank you to everyone that did watch it. Again, going through middle position on the Harley Benton TE52 that's slightly modified. Of course, it is tuned, same tuning as before, which is, I believe, standard tuning. And in this instance, we are going to check out the effects side of things on the amp. And there are some pretty useful effects here, as we see up on the screen in front of us. So let us start off with our default sound. Again, you're going to hear clackety-clack through the microphone because the mic is literally only about a foot away from the guitar. So with that said, let's start with how the analog phase sounds in its default configuration. This is another really nice effect that Peavey did a good job on putting into the actual. I think this kind of gives a kind of whooshy, airplane-y kind of sound, I think, if we do it like this. Let me just fix the props. You can kind of hear it doing the... So... Okay, let's put up to full speed, full depth. Pretty warbly. And we will... Let's roll back the depth to no depth. A little bit of a shimmer. Let's adjust it to 50 and half and half. This is definitely a very usable effect, and definitely is something right up there for anyone to use mixed info patch. Again, as I forgot to explain, over there, no reverb, no delay, no other effects, no dirt, straight up clean classic 50 channel that we're using these effects on. So here's the other chorus. There is a chorus in the stomp box section, so let's give this chorus a sound with its default or preloaded settings that it has here at the moment. And let's slow the speed down, increase the depth. To me, it sounds very rich, so it's a nice chorus if you're looking for a rich chorus. Let's bring the speed up. So, yeah, it's a nice chorus. I think it's a little bit richer sounding than I think the Stomp Box chorus. But again, if anyone who's listened to the first video can comment between the two, you know, that'd be great. So, again, you have the ability with this amp to actually run, in some instances, two choruses, two comps, as we see here. Let's just check this out. And we'll turn the level off. Default sound. Quite a bit of boost and sustain. sensitivity, you can hear the hum and how much it's pushing it into actually the red on the decibel meter on the OBS. So I don't think we have to really mess around with compression in regards to this one. It's pretty much simple chorus. Very adequate, no different than the other one. Yeah. Again, I find most of these effects in this amp very usable effects. Okay, let's check out the envelope filter. Okay, let's increase the sensitivity and change the intensity of the Q here and see what we get now. Let's add the intensity of the Q all the way up to full and see what we get here. Again, very effective effect, and I'm sure very useful if you mess around with it with enough time. Probably would sound good with some distortion and some of these amp settings. So let's now move on to the flange. I believe this one is an actual digital based flange, and I think the other one, the stomp, is an analog, so let's do the old max the depth, slow the speed, and see what we get now. fairly deep flanging. Again, let's bump up the speed. Almost kind of Leslie-esque, or rotary speaker-esque sounding. So again, no, seems to be a very adequate and usable flange effect. Can't say anything good or bad about it. And enjoyed definitely some of the settings. So let's move on to the most interesting one of all, the Mog. Again, I believe this is a organ emulation, and in this case there's no level, no intensity. You only have octave up and octave down. So let's totally remove the octave up. Let's put the octave up down and the octave up down and the octave down up. See what we get now for sound. Let's turn the octave up now. Up. Play some power chord type chords. A doesn't sound very good with it. Probably fine if you do single picked notes with it, it's probably pretty good. Or two maybe. That sounds really organy there. So let's see if we add both octave up and down in. Again, try to play them in like a three note pattern together of a chord or a chord form. As you can hear, it's just. Let's try to play them separately though. Heard a little bit of redlining in the decibel level of the OBS there on certain notes. So let's move them up here quickly and see what straight up sounds like. Excuse me. Let's add in octave up at about quarter. So the 3 o'clock position, put the octave down at the 9 o'clock position on these settings. Mashing notes together just kind of breaks out. So again, if you keep the notes relatively individualized, you'll definitely have more of the effect coming through. So Moog, I think, is definitely a useful effect that they've included on the amp, and is as you can hear, is fairly versatile. Would be probably be more interesting to stack it with some of the other effects and amps on here. Okay, the octaver is simply mix and level, which I've used this a little bit and I'm not 100% clear on this, so let's just kind of play with it how it is. together, it's pretty much as you can hear if I turn up the mix more. There's less of the guitar and more of the octaver effect. The level, I believe, controls the level of the octave, so let's bump it down to off, but still leave the mix up and see what we get. Not a true, like, Octavia effect, I don't think, compared to, like, say, an Octavia pedal. Bring the level up to match. If I have to give my honest opinion, this is probably one of the effects that kind of I feel is lackluster. Though I'm sure probably if someone tweaked around with it enough, they probably would be able to get some get the effect to run nicer. But in the years that I've used the amp and the amount of times that I've played around this effect, I've found it to be probably the least effective or least working of the stomps or effects in the amp to date. So my rating of it is kind of meh, but at the same time, I wouldn't go as far to say as that it's a totally useless effect. I'm sure if it was adjusted the right way and added to the right patch or combination of amps, effects, and such, I'm sure it actually would be a really nice effect. So let's move to the pitch shifter. In this case, all we simply have is, again, interval and mix. And again, as you notice with going through the stomps and the effects, a lot of this stuff is two knob, and in a lot of essence, I really do think that some effects in general have too many knobs and settings on them. And I mean, you look at one of the popular effects out there, The MXR phase, I believe it's 45 or 90. All it is just one knob, but it has an amazing phase effect to it. So I mean, it's just another prime example of, the keeping it simple stupid. It works in most cases. There are some instances in this amp's what Peavey's did for the effects and stomps in this were probably more than two knobs to affect the effect itself. Probably would be an advantageous compared to, say, like if you actually went and bought the effect as a standalone effect, which unfortunately Generation 1 tube versions in the VIP series unfortunately don't have an effects loop. In that instance, you got to step all the way up to the more recent 2016 to current Peavey Vypyr Pro 100s, which they finally did add an effects loop into the mix. So enough of talking. Let's actually hear how this sounds, how it sits in its settings. Very chimey. Kind of almost sounds like Star Trek. Hope I don't get a copyright strike for that. Yee. Now this effect you can use a chord over, at least in this setting. And I just happened to look down and notice, and as I said in the previous video, the Sandpair 2 controller does have the auxiliary light lit up on the right foot controller. So what that means is we can actually play with the speed without having to manually adjust it on the amp or in the software. So I've got the pedal fully rocked back here. Let's just play some notes and rock the pedal back and forth and see what we get now. So pitch shifter again is that one effect that guitarists like Tommy Morello and a few others have actually used in their songs as part of them. And as you can tell, usually it's either raises pitch or lowers pitch. So in this case, so if you put the pedal down low and roll it forward, you get high. But if you have the pedal set up high, you play the note, you can though in turn do back to a lower pitch. is a good case for if somebody says to you, can you make a song on one note? Well, technically, if you actually enabled the pitch shifter, played one note on your fretboard here, of course, you really can't call that music. Well, to some degree, some people could. Ooh, wacky. So, you get an idea of that. Let's actually turn the interval up. You could probably do like some country bend type stuff with the pitch shifter as well too. You can hear the squeaking of the pedal. Obviously, it needs some oil. Oh, enough messing around with that. So, pitch shifter effect combined with the Sandpair 2 controller. You might be able to do it on the Sandpair 1, but don't don't take my word for it fully. You'd have to have a Sandpair 1 to know so. And as you heard me there, I unfortunately pedaled forward a bit and actually disabled the control on the effect. So you hear that a bit too. But pitch shifter, I definitely say, is a very useful effect on this amp. So it's I would say a thumbs up / plus effect for anyone that can use it. And you can master it relatively easy, I think, compared to say like other pedal effects. So we're now 40 minutes in. So again, as I said, this one we're moving along pretty quick because I felt the other one was a little too long, so I want to keep this one under. So let's move, of course, to me, this is one of my favorite effects, and that is simply, again, because of the Hendrix influence and Hendrix and Kramer creating the backwards effects during Hendrix's playing days. I know there's been a few other artists who have actually used reverses for effects. So this is probably going to sound weird on its own. So because I don't think I've played a whole lot of cleans with reverse, or at least clean amp straight up with a reverse. So Let's hear how it goes with this setting, how we have it right now. Now actually hearing the mic, picking up the guitar actually is an advantage because you can hear what notes I'm actually picking and how it's coming back through the effect. Tapping sounds really good with this. Tapping. Let me just turn this way, that way you can see it. Tapping. Slides. Vibrato. Chords sound fine. Okay, let's change the time to 9 o'clock and see how now the reverse sounds. Oh, another little one too. Reverse bends. As you can hear, it's a shorter, reversing, and it seems to have more of a pronounced repeat going on with the lower setting. Let's bump it up to half. kind of helps to also do the exotic scale kind of thing, as I kind of roughly did there for you. So, reverse definitely is a handy little, again, my other thumb up for another effect on this amp that is a big time bonus, and definitely can get your creative juices going, especially if you're kind of into psychedelic Hendrixy kind of vibe. You can't go wrong with using the reverse. So we are now down to the last two effects. And this one, of course, is the classic rotary speaker effect, speaker and speed. So let's hear how this sounds. Kind of a little play on that. Again, another thing I'll add into these notes too that I probably should have added. Some pickups, and some positions sound good and bad with some of these some of these effects and stomp box effects on this amp. So keep that in mind, that you might have a really killer sounding guitar and you might be like, oh, this effect sounds great. Go and you strum, and whatever position or whatever pickup you have on, it might not sound good at all, or might not pick up the effect that well, or might not even pick up some of your effects as well. Like I noticed with this, like right now I've got it in middle position, and it sounds nice. Now let me try playing the pattern again. So that's in middle position. Now I'm going to play it in the neck position. Okay, so there's neck position. Now let's go totally down to the bridge position that has a slightly hotter pickup in it, and let's hear how it sounds compared to the other two positions. up into the middle. So it's just something as well, just as a reminder to folks, you're not your guitar so much, but more so your pickups definitely can affect not only the way your amp sounds, but also the way effects sounds. Like, I've seen some instances of great sounding pickups, but they are only good doing amp only type playing, where all you're doing is using your amp's distortion, and that's it. And maybe even some reverb, but even still, then it's the only thing that sounds good about them. Then there's other pickups where playing them individually on your amp, they don't sound good, but you go and you start throwing effects pedals into your signal chain or onto your amp, or in the case of even like this, even in a modeler, and the pickups actually will give definition and have more responsiveness to everything combined than what they would on their own. So, I mean, that can definitely vary. Now, again, in this aspect of this amp, we have the things where they are here. And again, down on the Sandpara 2 controller, we have the auxiliary light written up on our right foot pedal. Right foot pad or foot pedal controller. So which means, again, we can change the way the effect is using the pedal controller. So let's just kind of pluck around and to give you a little bit of an idea. So let's do a regular A. I've moved it up into a lower position, and now it's doing a nice slow. And my foot more forward. Almost to the top of the pedal now. Here's a prime example here of what I'm playing. I'm playing like the Hendrix chord kind of thing. And as you'll notice is as I'm playing through the note, notice I have the trim slow, but with the ability of the foot controller, I can actually sometimes accentuate or speed up some strings and how the rotary speaker effect comes over those strings when I'm picking through what I'm playing. So I'll show that again another little bit differently. It off because I went too far. See, like in this one here, I'm following my foot forward as I'm going down the strings. So I'm starting off slow. And I can do the same thing backwards too. Start off quick. So, again, two of the things that Peavey did really well in this amp are the univibe effect and the rotary speaker effect. So again, this is another plus effect on this amp that makes it, again, another big value in buying this amp. So let's step away from that one, and again, last but not least, let's move on to the tremolo effect, which is again another Sandpara 2 foot pedal controllable effect. For now though, let me just give a strum with how the tremolo sits right now. This is another one of the effects that in some of the patches that I've used to play some stuff and upload to the channel, various users have actually commented on how nice the tremolo does sound, and I agree. This is another one of those big pluses for this amp, is the tremolo. It's a very nice sounding tremolo effect. And again, foot controllable is also a nice bonus with this, and you'll hear once I move the pedal forward, it'll back down to its slowest setting. A slow pulsing. And again, I'll foot pedal forward. And again, turned it off by accident. I have the sensitivity too high on that controller for obvious reasons. But you can hear, you can get a really nice shimmery tremolo sound. So for the intensive purposes of this video, and to keep it just a little bit over an hour, let's mess around with the setting a little bit here. So we'll go full slowest speed, highest depth. Let's see what we get now. back off some depth. Some depth back in. Let's add some speed back in. So, that will take us back to the end of my little stomp box demo. Or sorry, not stomp box, effects demo for the Peavey Vypyr VIP2 guitar amp. I would have to say, while this segment of effects has some pretty strong effects in it, I would also, though, have to say it is probably the weaker of the two. I don't think some of these effects are definitely not as effective as compared to, say, those in the stomp box range. Everything in the stomp box range, I would say, is very much usable. The effects, I would say there is, let's see here, there's 3, 6, 9, there's 11 effects that you get to access by having the Sampera 2 controller and the interface software, as we see here, to control. So again, I wouldn't say the effects themselves are things that should make you to rush out and buy one or get a new or used one, but they definitely add to the feature set of the actual amp itself as a plus. So again, thank yous very much for making it through the hour and probably 8 minutes that this is. Again, this is all one shot, one take, recorded through OBS software with my errors and everything else and mispronunciations and stuff. That's always what I'm going to try to do with this channel, is keep things relatively honest, sincere, and straight up and forward. On occasion, I'll do some editing when needed, but for the most part, this is the format I feel most comfortable with, and I think most people out there that do find my channel, and more so my videos, appreciate. With that said, when we come back with the next video, we will be exploring the various effects guitar wise, because again, I don't have an acoustic at the moment, nor do I have a bass. So we will be exploring the amp models 6505, 6534 Plus, Butcher Classic, Triple X2, Buddha, British, Twin, and that's pretty much it. I could probably explore the Peavey Acoustic Trace Trace Acoustic, but I really truly feel that I can do that video better when I have an electric acoustic, and same thing as when I have a bass, that I can do the Peavey bass and Trace bass. So that will be the next video to come out over the next few days. Again, thank yous all for joining me. Thank yous for watching the video. Again, I hope yous enjoyed the video. Again, welcome to leave your feedback and comments further in the comments section of the video. And as always, take care, folks, and bye for now.